No BS AI briefing brought to you by Proactive AI. Welcome back. I'm your host Vikash, and this is where builders get straightforward AI news without the fluff. Today, we're unpacking Apple's big push into on device multimodal AI, the real costs of running models locally versus the cloud, and a significant new EU regulation that's about to shake up where you host your data. We've got some crucial insights for anyone building products right now. No BS AI briefing brought to you by Proactive AI. Welcome back. I'm your host Vikash, and this is where builders get straightforward AI news without the fluff. First up, Apple's adding suggested Genmoji to iOS 27, bringing contextual multimodal AI directly to millions of devices. In plain English, Apple's integrating suggested Genmoji as an optional keyboard feature in the upcoming iOS 27 and iPadOS 27 updates. What's cool here is how it works. The system suggests or even generates emojis that are relevant to your conversation, drawing insights from your own photo library and your unique typing patterns. And here's the kicker, it all runs right on your device with a privacy by design approach. That means your personal photos and typing data aren't being sent up to the cloud for processing. For builders, the interesting part is seeing practical multimodal AI, which combines vision and language capabilities, actually shipped at this kind of massive scale. It's a template for how you might build privacy first generative UIs that fuse private on device data without transmitting it. Think about any feature that needs deep personalization based on a user's local data. This shows a viable path to doing that ethically and at scale. Next, we're looking at another Apple move. The Siri app in iOS 27 will auto delete chats, marking a significant shift towards ephemeral conversational AI. This new Siri app is designed to automatically erase your conversation history after a set period. It's a deliberate move to limit persistent memory, aligning with a broader industry shift toward more stateless, privacy centric assistants. For builders, this is huge. It really pushes you to rethink how your AI agents and conversational interfaces manage context. Instead of relying on long term memory that's stored indefinitely, you'll need to lean heavily on techniques like retrieval augmented generation or RAG and more efficient on device context handling. This design choice isn't just about privacy, though that's critical for trust in both consumer and enterprise settings. It's about building assistants that are smart in the moment without carrying the baggage of every past interaction. It forces a more robust, dynamic approach to understanding user intent and providing relevant responses. Also on our radar, a reality check on local AI economics. A recent analysis found Apple Silicon inference costs 3x more than cloud. William Angel's blog published an insightful analysis comparing the cost of running large language model inference on an M5 Max chip versus cloud providers like OpenRouter. And the findings were stark. It costs roughly 3 times more per million tokens on the M5 Max. This isn't just about raw compute power, it's driven by factors like hardware depreciation over time, slower tokens per second compared to specialized cloud GPUs, and the energy consumption, even if it feels free since you already own the laptop. For builders, this is a crucial economic lesson. The total cost of ownership, or TCO, for on device inference often significantly exceeds what you'd pay a cloud provider. Before you commit to a local only or even a hybrid strategy for your AI product, you absolutely have to model the real economics. That means factoring in not just direct compute costs, but also hardware lifespan, power, maintenance, and the efficiency of your inference engine. It's a reminder that free hardware isn't free when it comes to ongoing operational costs. Finally, we've got major policy news from Europe. The EU is drafting legislation to ban US cloud for sensitive government data. OS News reports that EU officials are preparing new rules that would prohibit member states from using US based cloud platforms, think Google, Microsoft, and Amazon, for sensitive government workloads. The primary concern here is data sovereignty and the perceived risks of data being subject to US legal jurisdiction. For builders, this isn't just a political squabble. It raises the bar significantly on EU data residency and the entire concept of sovereign AI. It's going to accelerate demand for EU native infrastructure and model hosting solutions, and it creates urgent compliance imperatives for any enterprise or startup looking to deploy AI applications that touch public sector or even regulated private sector data within the EU. If you're building anything in this space, you can't ignore this. The one EU cloud platform restrictions, the regulatory inflection point for AI infra. That's our suggested deep dive today. What happened here is a move by EU officials to prepare legislation that would prohibit member states from using US based cloud platforms like Google, Microsoft, and Amazon for processing sensitive government data. This isn't just a suggestion, it's a push towards a hard ban driven by concerns over data sovereignty and the idea that data, especially sensitive data, should remain under EU jurisdiction and not be subject to foreign laws like the US Cloud Act. Why this matters right now is precisely because it forces architectural and go to market decisions for anyone serving EU public sector or even adjacent regulated workloads. We're not talking about hypothetical scenarios anymore. This is a clear regulatory signal. If you're building an AI product and planning to sell it to governments or highly regulated industries in Europe, you're going to have to prove your data isn't touching US cloud infrastructure. This isn't just about where your database lives, it's about where your AI models are trained, where inference happens, and where the data flows during its entire life cycle within your application. The market impact could be significant, fostering a new wave of EU centric cloud and AI infrastructure providers. So, who should really care about this? Founders and product managers need to care deeply because it defines market access and compliance requirements. If your product relies on US cloud infrastructure, you're potentially blocked from a massive public sector market in Europe. This means rethinking your market entry strategy. Chenchwei infrastructure engineers need to care because it directly impacts your architecture. You will be tasked with designing and implementing multi-region deployments, ensuring strict data residency, and potentially evaluating entirely new cloud providers or private cloud solutions. And yes, or indie hackers too, especially if you're building niche SaaS tools for European businesses. Understanding these rules early could give you a massive competitive advantage by building compliant from day one rather than trying to retrofit later. How I'd think about it as a builder, given these shifts, is primarily around risk and opportunity. The risk is clear. If you're operating purely on US cloud platforms, your ability to serve these EU markets is severely curtailed. The opportunity, though, is immense for those who embrace it. Think about building data residency tooling or offering sovereign model hosting solutions specifically for the EU. You could position your startup as a trusted, compliant partner from the outset. This isn't just about storage, it's about control over the entire data processing chain. You need to ask yourself, can I guarantee that all aspects of my AI workflow, from initial data ingestion to final inference, remain within EU borders? This isn't a small tweak, it's a fundamental architectural decision that needs to be made now. My no BS take on this is simple. This isn't hype, it's a legislative reality that's been building for years. We've seen GDPR, the Digital Markets Act, and the AI Act. This is just the next logical step in the EU's consistent push toward digital sovereignty. For builders, it's a clear signal: adapt your infrastructure strategy for the EU market, or you'll get left behind in a crucial sector. If you're finding this useful, hit follow in your podcast app right now. It takes 2 seconds, and it's the best way to make sure you don't miss the next briefing. If you want one practical takeaway from today's episode, here it is. Experiment, model local versus cloud, total cost of ownership, TCO for your AI inference. Don't assume local is cheaper, don't assume cloud is always better. Here's how to try it in under 60 minutes. 1. First, estimate your current or projected inference volume. Think about tokens per month or API calls per month your AI models will process. 2. Next, consider your latency needs. How fast do your models really need to respond for your user experience? Ultra low latency might push you one way, while batch processing might push you another. 3. Then look at hardware lifespan and depreciation. If you're considering on device inference, what's the expected life of the hardware, like an M5 Max, and how much does its value drop each year? Factor in electricity costs too. 4. Finally, compare these estimated costs, including hardware, power, and efficiency, to current cloud pricing from providers like OpenRouter or other major players. Look for the break even point. How many tokens or how much usage does it take before one option clearly becomes more cost effective than the other? This specific experiment is worth your time right now because the perceived cost benefits of on device AI can be misleading. As we saw with the Apple Silicon analysis, even powerful local chips might not be the most economical choice when you factor in all the variables. Understanding your TCO helps you make data driven decisions about your AI architecture, ensuring you're scaling efficiently and not leaving money on the table, or worse, building a solution that's economically unsustainable in the long run. Don't get caught by surprise. That's it for today's No BS AI briefing. If this helped, follow the show in your podcast app and share it with one builder you know. And if you've got questions or topics you want covered, connect with me on LinkedIn and send them over. See you in the next briefing. Metadata, SEO title, EU AI, Infra, Shift and Apple AI costs for builders. ILT title 1, Local AI versus Cloud, TCO, EU, Data Rules Impact for Builders. ILT title 2, Apple's on-device AI and EU cloud ban, Builder Insights, YouTube Desk Line 1, No BS AI, briefing with Vikash Sharma, unpacking the EU's move to ban US cloud for sensitive data and what Apple's on-device AI updates mean for builders. YouTube Desk Line 2, learn how new regulations and local AI economics will shape your product roadmap and infrastructure decisions in the coming months. Chapters Zarola Siwa, Cold Open 045, Show Intro, Monotak, Apple's Genmoji, On Device Multimodal AI, 230G, Apple, Siri, Ephemeral Conversational AI 350, Apple Silicon Inference Costs versus Cloud 510, EU legislation to ban US cloud for sensitive data 630, Deep Dive, EU cloud platform restrictions, the regulatory inflection point 1045, subscribe prompt 11 o'clock, practical takeaway, model local versus cloud TCO $1,300, close tags, AI news, AI for builders, EU AI Act, data residency, Apple AI, Apple Silicon, M5 Max, cloud inference costs, on device AI, Siri, Genmoji, sovereign AI, AI infrastructure, product management, engineering leaders, indie hackers, Vikash Sharma, No BS, AI, briefing, thumbnail text, EU cloud ban plus Apple AI costs, show notes. In this episode of No BS AI briefing, host Vikash Sharma dives into critical AI developments impacting founders and builders. We analyze Apple's new suggested Genmoji feature in iOS 27, demonstrating practical on device multimodal AI, and discuss how the Siri app's auto deleting chats push builders towards ephemeral conversational AI. A key economic reality check reveals why Apple Silicon inference can be 3x more expensive than cloud providers like OpenRouter. Our deep dive focuses on the EU's impending legislation to ban US cloud platforms, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, for sensitive government data, marking a significant regulatory inflection point for AI infrastructure and data residency. Learn why this matters for your market strategy and how to audit your data flows. Vikash offers a practical takeaway. Model your local versus cloud TCO for AI inference to make informed architectural decisions. Follow No BS AI briefing for concise, opinionated insights.